The most important character in Durarara doesn't have a voice actor. In the show's opening theme, we're introduced to 15 different characters, all deeply important to the plot, but there's actually one that we're not shown. The entirety of Durarara takes place in a single district of Japan named Ikebukuro. The plot of the show follows all of our characters' separate lives in the city and all the ways that their lives intersect, and yet through all of the chaos and connections and big explosive moments, the one constant in the show, and the key to unlocking everything, is understanding the most important character of all, Ikebukuro itself. In order to understand Durarara better, we should learn about when it was made. The manga was first released in 2004, in a time where the world was more saturated by technology and the internet than ever before. Japan was also feeling the effects of the lost decade, a time of Japan's economy stagnating that they've still arguably never recovered from. Ikebukuro, in reality, is a commercial and entertainment district of Japan. In the wake of continued economic problems, it worked as the perfect setting for commentary on Japan at the time. Ryogo Narita, the creator of the series, also wanted to speak on Japanese youth culture, especially in the time of the internet, and one of the ways we get that view is through the students of Raida Academy. The first character we ever meet in the series is Mikado Ryogamine, on his first day ever seeing the city. Mikado came from a small town where his only connection to the outside world was from his PC, but moved to Ikebukuro to attend Raida Academy with his childhood best friend, Masao Mikita. Durarara, as a show, loves to show different perspectives on the city, and for the first episode, the one we're shown is both Mikado's and ours. For the majority of episode 1, Mikado and the audience are introduced to Ikebukuro with Masaomi as the guide, showing us a small glimpse at just how much stuff there is both in the city and in this anime. Seriously, this video is pretty long and I had to cut maybe 80% of everything in this series. However, between introducing us to many of the characters we'll come to know later, Masaomi gives Mikado a couple of warnings, specifically to avoid 4 things: Shizuo Heiwajima, Izaya Orihara, color gangs, and the dollars. While Ikebukuro itself is a sort of character in the show, it's defined not just by the people in it, but also the smaller groups within it. We find out from Masaomi that Ikebukuro, for the past several years, has been home to something called color gangs, gangs that are named after and display themselves with certain colors. However, there's one more gang that operates a bit differently from every other one. The Dollars are a mysterious group in Ikebukuro, operating seemingly as a gang but with no color to wear. Instead, the way they connect and communicate is through a password-locked forum, making them anonymous in an underworld where your connections are literally worn on you. Even further, while every other gang has a leader and general power structure, the leader of the Dollars isn't known and anyone can do whatever they want, good or bad. In a district like Ikebukuro, information is a form of power, and nobody can better show that than Izaya Orihara. While most of episode 1 is dedicated to Mikado and Masaomi, we're also introduced to the seedy underbelly of Ikebukuro, a group of human traffickers. A girl named Ryo is meeting up with someone she met online with the plan of ending their lives together. However, as she follows the man to his car, she gets ambushed and thrown inside. Before she can be handed off to the traffickers' bosses, though, a mysterious transporter confronts them. And by confront, I mean... After hunting down the remaining ones, our transporter brings the girl to a building to meet the man that saved her. However, as she comes to learn, he wasn't just the man that saved her. Izaya not only arranged the rescue, but also the kidnapping. Even further, he's the one that talked the girl into trying to end her life in the first place. And the point of all of this? According to Izaya, it's all because he loves human beings. According to him, he just wanted to see the look on her face when he told her all of that, to see how humans react in the situations he makes for them. Izaya is an info broker for the underground, someone with information on everyone that's up for sale. But as nice as it is to pay the bills, the information is mainly for Izaya's own fun. Ikebukuro, to him, is a playground. It's a place where he uses his power and information to test humanity, and most big events in the city come directly from his manipulation. After Izaya leaves, the girl, feeling this was the push she needed, decides to go through with it after all. But as she falls towards her inevitable death, someone saves her. Her savior, and Izaya's real target, was the transporter, Celty Sturluson. See, Durarara isn't a completely normal show. This is anime after all. In this world, some myths and legends are actually real. In Ikebukuro, Celty is known as the Black Rider, a figure who rides around the night on a silent motorcycle. At the end of Mikado's first day in the city, he manages to catch a glimpse of her, and the moment for him is life-changing, but for her, it's just another day in the city. As I said before, Celty is a transporter for the city's underground. She's also a Dullahan, aka a headless rider, a creature in Irish folklore who served as a sort of grim reaper. One day, she woke up in Ireland with her head stolen and most of her memories gone, and followed where she sensed her head was, all the way onto a ship headed straight towards Japan. Her job as a transporter connects her to nearly everyone in the underground. While Izaya is one of her clients, she works for whoever's willing to pay her, while she hunts around endlessly for leads on whoever stole her head over 20 years ago. But Celty's head isn't the only thing missing in Ikebukuro. The show is split up, plot-wise, into two parts, and the first centers around the disappearance of Mika Harima. Mika is a friend of Henri, a girl that Mikado and Masaomi meet on their first day of school and quickly become friends with. Raida Academy is the school of almost every younger character we meet in the series, including this one, Seiji Yagami. For most of the series, we see him walking around the city with a mysterious girl, but today he shows up for the first day of class to say that it'll be his last one. With no explanation, Seiji has dropped out of Raida Academy. Mika was meant to be in the same class, but hasn't shown up, and as Henri reveals, she disappeared far before school started. We hear throughout the show the continued epidemic of human trafficking. While nobody seems to know what's happening, some progress gets made when the traffickers pick the wrong person to kidnap. First, meet the Van Gang, Walker, Erika, Saburo, and their leader Kyohei. Now meet their friend Kazutano. It turns out that the human traffickers have been hitting illegal immigrant camps, kidnapping people who normally have no connections or way to fight back, but this time around, they picked the wrong guy. After the Van Gang tracks them down and does a little, interrogation, the traffickers direct the Van Gang to their bosses, Yagami Pharmaceutical. Rumors have been going around for years about the company experimenting on humans, and these guys are the way they get bodies to work with. After the first day of school, we see Henri begging Seiji for information, specifically about Mika Harima. As it turns out, Mika is a stalker. She was obsessed with Seiji and was getting increasingly aggressive until something happened. Mikado, hearing all of this, starts to look into what happened and even closer into the city's underground. However, before he can find it, the underground finds him. One day after school, Mikado and Masaomi are walking around Ikebukuro when they hear Henri being bullied in an alleyway. Before they can come up with a plan though, someone else comes along to break it up for them. The fight scenes in Durarara are fascinating to me. Most of the time in the show, it has a calm and almost nostalgic feeling to it. The soundtrack of the series was made for the nighttime and it feels self-reflective, like you're looking back into a blurry past. That sense of calm is present almost everywhere in the show, to the point where even some of the fights feel that way too. Violence is a regular part of Ikebukuro, with gangs and street fights everywhere, so when Izaya shaves this guy's hair off with a single knife slash, the music barely even bothers to pick up. After the bullies run away, Izaya talks with the Raida kids, and while he already knows Masaomi, that isn't the reason he came out. All he came out to do was meet Mikado Ryugamine. And then he gets hit by a trash can. While I said some of the fight scenes in the show had that sense of calm, it's pretty dependent on the person, and if you want the opposite of calm, you'll need the opposite of Izaya. Number 2 on the list of people absolutely not to piss off is none other than Shizuo Heiwajima, Izaya's mortal enemy. While Izaya is clever, quick, and calm, Shizuo is blunt, angry, and inhumanly strong. And while most people in Ikebukuro are easily manipulated, Shizuo was one of the few who Izaya can't control, partially because he can't even control himself. The actual fighting in the show, outside of the superhuman power and agility, again this is an anime, are pretty realistic. Fights end quickly and brutally, with only 1 or 2 punches getting exchanged before someone gets knocked out. It gives every fight in the show a sense of fear, since nearly anyone and everyone can lose. And yet, within all of the madness and sudden chaos that happens in Durarara, it makes it easy to forget all the little details swirling around these interconnected stories. Namely, that Izaya came out just to meet Mikado. One of the tools of the early internet we get to see in the show is the chat rooms, specifically between 3 users, Taro, Seton, and Kanra. Over the first few episodes, we quickly come to learn who each of them are, and the combination is both surprising and suspicious. Seton is Celty, Kanra is Izaya, and Taro, of all people, is Mikado. Like day and night, with information in Durarara, you also have secrets. As the series goes on and more secrets are revealed, all of the seemingly unconnected stories and incidents around Ikebukuro start to center around just one girl, Mika Harima. Tensions all around the city are starting to rise. Robberies are growing from people claiming to be in the dollars, kidnapping incidents are continuing to happen, and a girl, the one who's been seen with Seiji, is trying to get out of Ikebukuro. Celty's been called down to the street for an errand by Izaya, but as she's waiting, the girl runs right past her and Celty realizes something. That's her head on someone else's body. Celty chases after her, but as the girl flees, she runs headfirst into none other than Mikado himself. Faced with a split-second decision, staring dead at the Black Rider, he chooses to help the girl escape, and suddenly becomes the target of some of the most powerful people in the city. While he's able to make it home and lets the girl stay at his apartment, Celty and Izaya already know everything about him, but they're not the only ones he needs to worry about. That girl was trying to run away with Seiji for a reason, and that reason is Seiji's older sister, Namie Yagami. Namie is many things. She's the owner of Yagami Pharmaceuticals, obsessively protective of Seiji, and the current owner of Celty Sturluson's head. Her father used to own it, and while they grew up very rich, Seiji and Namie were alone for most of their childhood. One day, Namie and Seiji snuck into their father's office where Seiji saw Celty's head for the very first time, floating peacefully in a jar. Ever since that day, he was completely obsessed with the head, and Namie has been trying to keep them separated ever since. Celty and Izaya confront Mikado after school, all three chat room members finally together for the first time. Rather than threatening him, Celty actually decides to tell Mikado the whole truth. Of Dullahan's, of her missing head, of who she really is, and why she needs to see that girl. Deciding to trust Celty, Mikado agrees. Issue is, the girl is gone, and Mikado was nearly kidnapped from his own apartment. However, Izaya decides to throw a bone of information to Mikado, that those agents were sent by Yagami Pharmaceuticals to look for the girl. And suddenly, all of the dots connect in his head. His expression changes as he pulls out his laptop. He opens it up to a website, one linked to Ikebukuro, and one that's been questioned throughout the entire series. Mikado was no normal kid, and Izaya knew it the whole time. No, Mikado isn't normal. He's the creator and leader of the dollars. That night, Namie gets a call, one proposing a trade, but the deal doesn't turn out the way she thinks. Some mysterious scrawny kid wants to trade the whereabouts of the girl in exchange for Namie and Seiji turning themselves into the police. Mikado's come to the conclusion that Seiji murdered Mika Harima, and that Yagami Pharmaceuticals worked to cover it up, using their experience with humans to sew the head of Celty onto the girl, giving Seiji the girl he always wanted using the body of Mika. Namie obviously turns down the deal, but before her agents can get him, Mikado pulls out his phone, and with a single press of a button, sends a message out. Suddenly, the gray crowd around them turns to color, as the very first meeting of the dollars has officially started. And not only was Mikado revealed to be the leader, we're finally able to see all of the other characters that are secretly members, answering all of our questions all at once. After the town lights up, all chaos breaks loose, with Celty coming down to protect Mikado from the guards. With the legend of the city in front of them, the Black Rider, the entire crowd turns hysterical, and Namie runs away in the process, knowing that her secrets are out. She still has one person she can turn to for help, though. The following day, we see her in the office of Izaya Orihara, letting her stay there, but not for free, and not for money either. The cost for her safety, and what Izaya wanted the entire series so far, was the real head of Celty Sturluson. After meeting with Namie, Seiji hunts after Mikado, looking to kill him. While Celty protects him, someone else protects Seiji, the girl with the fake Celty's head. While she called herself Celty, that's not her real name, and she knows it. No, that girl is the real Mika Harima. One night, Mika tried breaking into Seiji's apartment, only to catch him staring at the real head of Celty. For that, Seiji tried to kill her, but while he didn't know it, she survived. Namie tried to strike a deal with Mika. If she would get plastic surgery and change her name, Seiji would finally love her, and Namie would be able to control him through Mika. But Namie's demands got more intense, wanting to erase her memories and her personality, forcing Mika to try and run. Now that Namie's on the run from the police though, her and Seiji are free to be a very, very strange couple. And just like that, part 1 of the show kinda just ends. See, when it comes to Ikebukuro, Durarara likes to explore the idea of fate. Specifically, that no matter how much everything seems to change, nothing really changes at all. While both we and the city had a lot of secrets revealed to us, and while the human trafficking incidents have stopped, not too much really changed. While the head is now with Izaya, Celty still doesn't have it. While Namie was kicked out from Yagati Pharmaceuticals, it gets bought out by a foreign investor and continues to operate. And while it's revealed to us that Mikado is the leader of the dollars, he never actually revealed it to anyone else but Celty. And for the next 6 months, Ikebukuro returns to normal. The city seems to have its own sort of cycle of rising and falling, but of all people, Izaya is looking to change that. At the end of part 1, we learn something about him, that Izaya is terrified of death, or more specifically, the lack of an afterlife. The reason he wanted Celty's head is because he has a theory. Since he knows that creatures in folklore exist, he believes that the idea of Dullahans and Valkyries are connected. His theory is that if this head were in the middle of a war zone, it would awaken and take whoever's holding it to Valhalla. Izaya is looking to change his fate, and in the process, turn Ikebukuro into an active war zone. And the key to all of it is through the trio from Raida Academy, Mikado, Masaomi, and Anri Sonohara. But for now, we'll have to close our window into the world of Durarara. I really wanted to do this entire video in one piece, but my entire family caught a stomach bug and now I have it too. When I wake up tomorrow, I'll basically be a nauseous rock. The second part will be coming out in 4 to 5 days, and if you enjoyed this and want to catch it, I ask you to subscribe. If you enjoy the second part too, I suggest checking out my other videos as well. Not all of them are about anime, but if you liked this, I know for a fact you'll like my other stuff too. And if you enjoy this and that and want to support me even further, I have a Patreon. I'll make this quick, but for just $2 a video, not including part 2s, you get your name at the end of videos, a role on my Discord, a direct line to me and other patrons, any extra content I release, and even some goals I need to meet. Also, once part 2 releases, I'll be sending out a free commentary video on my Patreon for anyone to watch, giving more details about the show that I couldn't fit into these videos. By the way, shout out to my higher tier donors, Jared Chode, Mendel, Tommy the Cat, Zimborg, Meep, and The One. With all that said, and begging out of the way, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.